Ladies and gentlemen, it is a special Friday edition of Lightning Round. You've got Kevin Tompkins, you got Andrew Cooper, live for fresh off of FSG, I should say, and Howard Bender, our special guest, who is filling in as capably as he can for the incomparable Britt Flynn. Howard, how are you, my man?
You're not going to ask me to sing today, are you? Because if you're going to ask me to sing, then everybody's going to tune out.
You know the rules, dude. You sit in Britt Flynn's chair, you got to sing.
Can you tinkle the ivories too?
I'm not drafting Zay Flowers.
There it is.
Because that offense gonna suck. How about that? Does that work?
That's a good segue because we're actually going to hit on that team today. We're going to hit on a lot of stuff. Kev, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what we're looking at?
Yeah, we're looking at a pretty packed show. We're just going to dive into some of the news updates that we've gotten throughout the last week or so. We haven't touched on that much. We got some dart throws. We'll be going through some ambiguous wide receiver groups and running back groups. Kind of sift through some of the I don't want to say garbage because maybe that's a little too harsh, but just some of the maybe the murky waters here. And then we'll be, if you saw it on the graphic, the seat's a little hot for some fantasy football players. That's not just for head coaches. So we'll dive into that as well. But I know for Fantasy Alarm specifically, it's a big week. Coop, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Before we get in the news, right now we got two things going on we want to talk about. Number one, the biggest thing of the year, the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide is live. Yes, and when we say live, that means it's up there. It's also a living draft guide. So right away, we loaded up with all your favorites, Howard's rankings, my rankings, the dynamic rankings, all the things that we started off with. And then from now until the start of the season, we're just going to keep adding stuff, keep updating stuff. When you get in and buy it now, you get everything for the entire summer. So that's live now. Go to Fantasy Alarm, click NFL, will be the first thing you see there. Get signed up with that. Other thing we got going on is the third annual Lightning Round Best Ball Draft. The link, if you're on YouTube, is going to be right in the description. Otherwise, go to Kevin Tompkins or my page or the Lightning Round page. It's all up there. Get in there. It's for charity. It's a great cause. Let's go. But without further ado, let's get into the news. Now, I'm going through Reddit. The fantasy subreddit's down this week, so people might not know what's going on. So I just wanted to hit on some of the hot topics. I don't want to talk about Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins. Howard, are you sick of talking about Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins yet?
Listen, I'm definitely sick of talking about DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook. Why don't we just let them land? I mean, all this speculation, like, what is it doing for us? It's not, it legit isn't doing anything for us. Oh, is he going to the Patriots? Oh, is he going to go to the Browns? Just tell me where he lands so I know where to draft him. Both these guys are guys who are easily draftable. They're going to have value. So, you might as well just kind of, wait it out and just see what happens.
Yeah, let's move on from that. We got Herms in the chat. Toronto Dave, what up, gang? We got Scampers in the chat. Came for the singing, not disappointed. Howard, you're a man of the people, right? You know how to give the people what they want.
Scampers.
Yeah. Other news that we saw this week. This one, I'll get it out of the way first because it seems like it may have settled itself a little bit, but Sean McDermott was quote unquote, or direct quote, very concerned that Stephon Diggs was not there for the start of camp. Diggs did end up showing up, but Kev, I'll go to you. How concerned are you about Stephon Diggs?
I'm not concerned. I'm not overly concerned about the actual him missing the start of camp. His agent said that he was there. I guess it got worked out by the team, but it's really just a growing narrative right now of Stephon Diggs just, whether it's, being emotionally, I guess, just really out there. And we're starting to see now, maybe we're getting the new era of the diva wide receiver. Now we've had between Stephon Diggs, Elijah Moore. If we can get a Terrell Owens comeback, I think we really completed the trifecta there. But I'm a bit worried going forward because we've seen a couple instances. He pulled himself out of the playoff game last season. Now this, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I'm a bit concerned as far as Is Stephon Diggs going to do something else in the middle of the season? Is he going to do something else before the season? Like, that's where I'm concerned. But when Diggs is playing, he's obviously a top wide receiver talent, where you're drafting him at the end of the first round in best balls and probably in the same in redraft. But that's always got to lay in the back of your mind that what's next for Stephon Diggs off the field, whether it's a blow up or something like that. If he's going to pull himself out of another game, that's what concerns me.
Well, see, for me, I look at the situation. I'm not worried about him holding out. If anything, Le'Veon Bell paved the way to show us that holding out is the dumbest thing possible, and the teams will call you on your bluff. So, things like Diggs, missing that first day of camp. I think the worrisome thing is that it sounds like it's an internal issue. He was upset with the play calling. He was upset with Josh Allen not force feeding him targets everywhere. And I think that is kind of the underlying issue. Now, McDermott came right out and said, he's like, oh, I'll take some blame for that. And Josh Allen said, oh, I'll take some blame for that. And we didn't get him the ball like we should have gotten him. So, they're kind of feeding into, his little, the squeaky wheel getting the grease narrative. But yeah, I do agree with you, Kev. I think that it could be problematic later on down the road, because if teams start to force him with, extra coverage, floating a safety over in his direction a little more often, like we expect to see, then he could end up getting frustrated. It could cause a little bit of a rift. I'm not worried about him, skipping out, but I will look into the fact that maybe they do start exploring some trades, or if he does throw a little tantrum, then, is that a guy you want to put your trust into if you're drafted in fantasy?
Yeah, I mean, so Howard, it's interesting you mentioned Le'Veon Bell's name there, because there's a little bit of other news trickling out. Very, very similar situation. For those that don't remember, Le'Veon Bell was franchise tagged by the Steelers, did not want to play under the tag, right? Even with the guaranteed money. So held out an entire year. Eventually, Howard's Jets threw a ridiculous amount of money at him, guaranteed. He played about, I think he was getting paid, like $1 million a snap there, Howard. So he did get some money out of it.
Needless swipe, Coop. Needless swipe.
Sorry. Yeah. Mark me down. That's one. But yeah, so shouldn't take swipes at our guests. I'll make a note on that one.
Shots fired.
So yeah. But as Howard pointed out, at the end of the day, it probably would have been more lucrative and better for him to stay in the zone blocking scheme with the Steelers, not leave. He basically did irreparable damage to not only his career, but his reputation, right? This is a guy that was looking like a slam dunk Hall of Famer, easily the best running back in fantasy football, and just kind of ruins his reputation. There's another situation of kind of the opposite guy right now. Saquon Barkley has said in the past he cares about his reputation, cares about his legacy, but he has also said recently that on the franchise tag, which he's now under, he's not opposed to holding out himself. And his direct comment this week was that he's aware of the other running back contracts, and he feels like he's more than that. So he's telling us all that he wants to set that market. It seems that he's whatever you pay just a running back, he's more than that. Howard, are you worried that Saquon could pull a Le'Veon here? Because a lot of the same language.
I mean, it's definitely a lot of the same language. I think the difference is that Bell was under contract and holding out. He still had, I think, a year or two left that he was supposed to be getting paid, and he just wanted more money. It's that typical thing that we see with a lot of football players, right? I'm performing so well, you guys have to pay me more money. But if you're not performing well, then do you give some of that back? So, I think that's one of the big issues that was with Le'Veon Bell. With Saquon Barkley, he doesn't want to play under the franchise tag because he obviously knows 2 knee surgeries. Last year was the first year that he put together an entire season. We saw that he was dynamic. We saw what he was capable of doing. He doesn't want to go into this season playing under the franchise tag because he doesn't want to just be sitting on a 1-year contract, because if he gets his knee buckled or anything like that this year, nobody's going to pay him. I mean, the NFL's not paying running backs the way they running backs want to be paid anyway. But, Barkley is obviously hedging a little bit. And I'll say this, for him to be hedging that much about it, how confident does Saquon feel on his 2 legs?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting, and in the way he's gone about it, it's about the most, he used the word respectful. He's looking for a respectful deal, which is about as nice a way as you can say it. Wanting a new deal, but like, hey, I'm here. Just it's those running backs, the running backs with the big receiving value. Those are the guys that get extended. The guys that aren't just I mean, you better be like Derrick Henry or like a generational type runner like that to be able to get a second contract with your first team. So, it remains to be seen what's going to happen. But Saquon Barkley fits the archetype of a guy that should get paid, but we're also looking at the running back position that's been just devalued the last couple of years. So it's really going to make for an interesting decision what the Giants do. But playing a full year, without incident or injury, I can't blame a guy for wanting to get paid right away. And we'll see if the Giants do it.
Yeah, Herm says that he should get a 4-year deal with 2 extra mil quad bonuses. Obviously, 2 mil per quad. What do you think, Howard? I still think he's got the best quads in the league.
He's got quite the set of quads. There's no doubt about that. I'd like to see him and AJ Dillon match up.
Yeah, Dillon.
Yeah, he's 2 behind the quad father.
That's what I want to see. Listen, I used to be a pro wrestling fan when I was a kid, not now, but I'd like to see AJ Dillon and Saquon Barkley throw each other into the figure 4 leg lock and see who comes out on top there. I think that would be.
That's probably how you create like nuclear fission, Howard. Like
Yeah.
that would.
Well, at least the one thing is
so much heat off of that.
At least Saquon Barkley's done something in his career to be able to want, more money as opposed to the running back we'll be talking about.
But he's done it 1 year. Like, you can't give him a 4-year contract, not for that kind of money. I don't want to, I mean, again, we see it. The shelf life for running backs is really, it's not long at all. And so, if you're lucky if you're getting, 2 good years out of a 4-year deal at this point.
Well, that's a good transition into the other guy I want to talk about, because Saquon's not the only one. We have another player who isn't on the franchise. He's actually still on his rookie deal, and this guy has missed significant time. He's been an injury risk. Not sure how many people saw it, but John Harbaugh came out and said, I expected J.K. Dobbins to be at practice, but it wasn't in the cards, apparently. So we'll just have to get ready for training camp. It turns out that it's not anything injury related for J.K. Dobbins, but it's actually contract related. He said he's not going to mini camp. He wants a new deal. So you talk about Saquon Barkley and what he's done. J.K. Dobbins, is this a guy that you're paying money to, or is it just going to be a situation where he's just going to have to show up and actually prove once for all if he can do it? Kev, what do you think?
You gotta do it. Like, Saquon's done it. We're talking about a guy who deserves, to get paid more based on what he's done. What has J.K. Dobbins done? He's been hurt, pretty much the entirety of his career. Remember in the preseason in his rookie season, the preseason when he was a rookie, he was complaining about his workload as well. And, he was also hurt there too. So he's, publicly complained that he's never gotten more than 15 carries a game back then too. So you got to show at least a little bit for a team to put their faith in you. I think that's just, I don't know if he's getting advice from his agent to be able to do this, or if this is just kind of going rogue and just wanting to kind of do it himself. But at the end of the day, you got to at least put some numbers on the board to be able to show that you're worth.
Maybe it's Lamar Jackson's secret email agent he was using there. Maybe he's got his fingers
Alta Vista going on,
sending around. Yeah. What is it? There's 2 of them. There's that guy Ken something, and then what was the name of the other secret agent there? I don't
even remember his name. I heard J.K. Dobbins is using AI to negotiate his contract for him now.
Not
only a matter of time.
But I mean, listen, if we're to believe that Todd Monken is going to employ this air raid offense, and they're going to get all pass happy with the amount of running that Lamar Jackson does anyway, and the fact that you've got kind of a bullish back in Gus Edwards. I mean, Edwards isn't the be all end all, but if you're not worried about throwing to your running back too much because you've got 2 tight ends who can catch the ball, and Andrews and Likely, and you've just loaded up on wide receivers, I don't really think, you can tell Harbaugh is like, yeah, okay, whatever. It wasn't in the cards for Dobbins to show. I'm not going to say that he doesn't care, but I don't think it's a massive priority for him right now.
Yeah. I mean, Gus Edwards he's one of like 6 or 7 guys to have over 400 carries and over 5 yards per carry for his career, and that's doing the dirty work. So I like Gus. You need more than just Gus. So I don't know.
Herm's got the jokes here today, huh?
He's in there. Oh yeah, Herm's a sharp cat, dude. Shout out Herms. Another running back recently released. First, I want to ask you guys. Just give me a quick yes or no. James Robinson was released by the Patriots. If you have him in Dynasty, can you drop him there, Howard?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Other question. Let's say you have Ramondre Stevenson, and you want either the guy that's going to contribute just as a handcuff plus, or who you think the next best back is on the team. Are you taking a stab on anybody there? Maybe a Ty Montgomery, Howard.
Listen, you know what? I don't know if this is family friendly or not, but you dirty bitch. Why are you throwing Ty Montgomery into the conversation every time? You know what I feel you guys saw Coming to America, right? Right? Walking into the barber shop right there. It's like Rocky Marciano. How come every time somebody comes in here, he's talking about Rocky Marciano? So you know what? Ty Montgomery, Coop. Ty Montgomery. How come every time I show up,
he beat Pierre Jones' ass.
The moment you dogged me in the chat for making that Ty Montgomery video, you knew it was coming back, dude. You knew it was coming on my birthday. You done. But so I will say this.
I said I wasn't going to abuse you because it was your birthday. So it was more of like a passive aggressive sort of a thing.
Yeah. Well, Ty Montgomery now, hey, moving up. He's at least better than James Robinson. That's the word. So, Kev, let me ask you then for real. If you got to pick one, Ty Montgomery or Pierre Strong or Kevin Harris, who you like?
It's probably Ty Montgomery, for being honest, just because I feel like he's, in limited action the last couple. He started out.
Packer.
Yeah. Okay. I'm the least Homer Packer fan you'll probably find on the World Wide Web. Anyway, I'd probably lean Ty Montgomery, but it wouldn't surprise me. Pierre Strong, ended up taking some of what was on Ramondre's full plate. So I'm drafting both. Ty Montgomery's a wide receiver on Underdog. I will say that. So that might give you a little bit of an edge if you're into that. But I'm drafting Pierre Strong a little bit in the 18th round. At least draft him now. Get some closing line value if you get some good camp reports. But yeah, the whole James Robinson thing, it stinks to see a guy that's was traded and not retained and now released in 8 months. Like those guys, not everybody can come back from an Achilles injury. Like Deonta Foreman is like almost the best case scenario here of a guy coming back from an Achilles tear. Not everybody can be a Cam Akers, at least coming back to show a little bit of that juice. So it stinks to see, but drop James Robinson. I'm fine with that. Take a shot at Pierre Strong or Ty Montgomery.
Don't forget, Howard. Ty Montgomery also briefly played for the Jets, so we're all Ty Montgomery fans here, really.
No, we're really not.
We're running the gamut here.
Set the over-under. I'll give you set the over-under for the first injury report for Ty Montgomery. My hand, on my back, on my neck, my neck and my back, all of that stuff. The dude is not worthy of a play. Maybe he's good. You know what Ty Montgomery is? Ty Montgomery is a great DFS play because there'll be 1 week, maybe 2, where you'll be like, you know what? I get me some value here. A lot of outside zone work. Maybe he gets some pass catching work. It's a weak defense that he's facing. That's about it because I'm in season long fantasy. No way for me.
Right. I'll give you my real and honest take is that it has to be a really deep league, like a Scott Fishbowl type league where I
drafted him last year.
You're scratching for like.
Did you win?
James White's a star. No one wins. No one actually wins.
You mean me out of 4,000 people? No, I did not.
Were you in the finals?
I was not.
Anyway, Ty Montgomery got hurt, right? But he got hurt. So anyway, here's the thing. So even Ty Montgomery, I think he could carve out a role in pass catching downs. Ivan Fears said as much. But if something were to happen to Ramondre Stevenson, I think it would be a committee. They're not just going to make Ty Montgomery the starting back, right? So Pierre Strong probably has the higher long-term upside. But if you're looking for somebody, just Howard, wake up. Let's go. All right, new player. Here's
This is
here we go.
gross. Sorry, this is gross.
That would be tragic. That would be LeGarrette Blunt 2.0, as pointed out by Better Boss. Anyway, let's wrap up the news. I got two pieces of Chiefs news. The first one, very quickly, Darrell Henderson trying out to the Chiefs. Do we care at all, Kevin? No. Howard, no. Okay. The other one, a little piece of news, has been a lot of smoke about Kadarius Toney and his yards per route run. They drafted Rashee Rice in the second round, but Patrick Mahomes came out and said that Sky Moore could be the one that plays the Juju Smith-Schuster role. Is that enough for you cats to move Sky up a little bit?
What was the Juju Smith-Schuster role?
I don't
Overdrafted
know.
in fantasy?
Being a bad wide
They don't
receiver,
really know.
being thrown to by Patrick Mahomes,
Just running the same patterns as Kelsey, but worse. It
pretty
seems.
much just occupying like the same exact space.
Yeah.
I mean, Sky Moore just has to run the routes. Like it's really all it comes down to. Like if you're gonna be the slot guy, you better be running at least 70 to 75% of the routes, maybe more if he shows more. I mean, right now it's a pretty ambiguous, wide receiver group. We look at the Buffalo Bills, Green Bay Packers, like those Packers last year, but like with stud quarterback and an unsettled wide receiver room. So you got MVS there, you got Justin Watson taking up routes, for God's sakes. You got Rashee Rice, you've got all these other guys. Kadarius Toney is kind of a wild card because you don't even know if the dude's going to stay on the field. So we're really looking, the prices for these guys, especially in best ball, are pretty solid. So, I'm definitely willing to take a shot. Maybe not as much on Toney because he's the most expensive of the wide receiver group, but definitely taking shots on Moore, definitely taking shots on Rashee Rice. But if he's going to play the Juju Smith-Schuster role, so to speak, which means he gets to play the slot, then I'm
Kev, I hate to interrupt, but this is the perfect segue into our next segment. So next segment here, news is over. We're playing a little game here, and I'm going to keep track of this. I want to see we're playing a little game here. I'm going to keep track for next year. What we're doing, we're taking a bunch of ambiguous situations that present value in fantasy if you can get them right. We've seen it in the past. A good example last year, the Jaguars, right? You looked at the ADP for all those guys. At the end of the day, they almost all exceeded ADP, but Marvin Jones was the guy that was out. Zay Jones was the one that, Howard Bender and John Apemba were in wide receiver 90, finished like wide receiver 26, right? So that's what we're looking for. Our first one, we might as well start off with the one we just talked about. If you have to pick one of Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, who would you pick?
In terms of like the most targets or best fantasy
points? Fantasy points. We'll do half PPR because that's what underdog is. And I was looking at the composite ADP on Fantasy Alarm that's up now, and it tracks NFC and underdog and everything. So that's the best source, but underdog is kind of the main game people are playing right now, right?
Right.
Yep.
So
I'll take Rice. He's not going to cost you as much as Kadarius Toney is. I don't believe in Sky Moore. I feel like is there really a difference between Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney? We both get they both get the whole the Swiss Army knife description there, which is to me the kiss of death for any wideout, especially when they were coming in their rookie campaign. I look at Rashee Rice. I see he's got a good size, he's got good speed, he can stretch the field. They're going to use him as the outside. I know that Mahomes doesn't throw deep as much as we'd like to see, but maybe he's just got a better rapport, or he can develop a better rapport there with Rice as opposed to MVS. I mean, you got to have an outside guy. You got to have somebody to throw slants across, deep routes, posts, everything like that. And I think Rice fits the bill.
I mean, I have thanks to Dan Servadidio, shout out Servo, I have a Rashee Rice Rookie of the Year bet at plus 5,000, which, Chiefs, hey, if he's released the Chiefs, who knows? Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave were top 2 last year. So a little sprinkle at plus 5,000, why not? Even then, though, I'm actually going to take a different guy. I am going to take Kadarius Toney, and it's simply because of really 2 things. One is the eye test of what I've seen, and I'm not a big eye test guy, but the game that he had for the Giants against the Cowboys, he showed
Legendary.
just crazy explosiveness, man. And a lot of that is, Trayvon Diggs was the second MVP of that performance, right? It's kind of doing a bit of whiffing there. But, he just, the way he was cutting, the way he was maneuvering an open field, it was very impressive. The other is that there's a stat, yards per route run, that is one of the better ones at taking small sample size guys and figuring out what they can do with more snaps. It just basically shows, how productive you are on limited snaps. And he was right up at, the truly elite guys are like 3, right, Kev? And he was up near 2.6. So, it's highly possible that just with more snaps, he could be very productive. So I am going to take Tony, but I'm obviously rooting for Howard to be right because I get actual money from that one.
Yeah, I'm still taking Kadarius Toney here. Yards per route run with his time in Kansas City was 2.6. I'll also pivot at targets per route run, which, is targets per route run based on the number of routes he ran, which really wasn't much, but he was targeted on 26% of the routes he did run. Like that, when he was on the field, they showed the ability to be able to, hyper target Kadarius Toney. So outside of Travis Kelce, I think Toney is I think he's in the lead clearly right now. I'm not saying Rashid Rice couldn't overtake him because that's certainly well within the range of outcomes. I just don't know if Sky Moore, can reach that high outcome at least this year. But I will take Kadarius Toney just because I truly do believe in the talent, and something's got to give. It's almost a make or break because they got to see if the trade they made with the Giants last year, they gotta get something out of it this year.
All 3 of us said Patrick Mahomes, we don't believe you. So good. Sky Moore, smell you later. All right, I got
anything that we can bank, or it's going against the best quarterback in football.
Dude, he also picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so maybe he's not the best talent evaluator.
So Aaron Rodgers syndrome.
Perfect. Yeah. So 2020, there was a team that had a brand new coach, brand new quarterback, brand new core of pass catchers. That was the Carolina Panthers, and everyone thought it was going to be DJ Moore, but he actually ended up behind Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson. Perfect situation for ambiguousness. Once again, Carolina Panthers, new play callers, new quarterback, all new pass catchers. So right now we're looking at Adam Thielen, and Adam Thielen's going the highest of these guys, ADP 142. So we're talking, you can draft your entire starting lineup and then pick anyone you want from this group. So Adam Thielen, 142, Jonathan Mingo, the rookie, 162, DJ Chark, 148, 184. You could even throw Hayden Hurst in the mix as the highest scoring fantasy player. So we'll have him in there. And then, of course, the only incumbent player of those 5, Terrace Marshall, going at pick like 235. But basically, there's 4 guys all brand new to the team, and then Terrace Marshall. So, Howard, if you're going to plant your flag on one of these guys, you could probably draft 2 of them and get value. But if you're going to pick one of these guys, who are you thinking? I know.
Because they play different roles here. Like I think Hayden Hurst can buddy up with Bryce Young, and we all know that young quarterbacks like to lean on their tight end. Hayden Hurst does some amazing initiatives for mental health awareness. So he's fantastic for that. So we've heard him, we've talked to him. He's a personable guy. So I could see him forging that kind of a relationship with Bryce Young and helping him along with coming into the league and the pressures and everything like that. Thielen's a possession guy. DJ Chark stretches the field. Mingo I love, but he's a field stretcher. So I guess if we're talking half point PPR, I'll settle in on Adam Thielen, just being the reliable guy. I think his time was spent very well in Minnesota, but taking that back seat to Justin Jefferson and doing more explosive things, and Kevin O'Connell's offense wasn't really the fit for him. I think he fits better here in Carolina.
Kev, what do you think?
It's a little bit gross having to sort through these options here. I really want to say another name that's not on this list.
Ooh.
And does it have to be a wide receiver?
No.
Can it be Miles Sanders?
You can't take Miles Sanders. No, this question is top pass catcher. And I guess, if you want to just take his passing production without any of the running, then I'll give you that.
I will take Miles Sanders here.
Okay.
I feel like, Bryce Young hyper targeted Jahmyr Gibbs last season at Alabama. If you're not going to be able to get the ball to your Hayden Hurst or your Ian Thomas or whatever tight end you want to throw out there, you got a running back where Miles Sanders couldn't really show with Jalen Hurts that he had some receiving chops. I think he's got at least a decent shot of having the best receiving season he's ever had by far with Carolina this year. And in a room where you've got Adam Thielen, Mingo, Chark, Hurst, Terrace Marshall, I'm fine with taking the wild card on the running back here, just because you could totally see all like 5 of those guys just kind of being a glut for like 75 targets each, where Miles Sanders could probably mix into that. And, if Bryce Young, we know he's probably he's the smallest quarterback in the NFL. He might not be able to ride a roller coaster, but he can at least take Miles Sanders as an outlet, in the flats.
Wow, there you go. Bryce Young is Drew Brees.
And that is the
Miles
nicest
Sanders
thing I've
is
ever
Alvin
said
Kamara.
about Miles Sanders.
I love Miles Sanders. That's my baby. But
I mean, last year Miles Sanders was like a 6th or a 7th round choice. It was like, oh no touchdowns, no touchdowns.
what happens? 13. What's up? And I mean,
I thought about it, Herms.
that was with the mobile QB. Yeah, no Laviska Shenault. Get that out of here, dude.
No slander on these airwaves either.
Is he finally going to turn into Deebo Samuel? Herms is now the time. I'm going to go with a guy. So I've obviously been an Adam Thielen truther. I'm the only one sticking up for Jonathan Mingo in rookie drafts. Apparently, everyone besides me and Steve Smith hate him. I'm a big Miles Sanders guy. Obviously, it's difficult to hate Hayden Hurst considering how good of a dude he is and the things he does with our community and with the mental health community. But I'm going to take my boy DJ Chark. I can't go away from the physical skill set and tools. This guy has a 1,000-yard season on his resume. He's still only like 26 years old. He's he's 6'3", runs like a 95th percentile 40. Why can't DJ Chark finally just get it together one time and be the guy we hoped he could be, and the guy that we've actually seen him be one time with Blake Bortles, right? So if I'm taking stabs here, it also helps me from a fantasy standpoint that he's the cheapest of the 3. So when it comes to my fantasy leagues, it's, I can wait a little bit and take him. I just wait till Thielen goes and Mingo goes, and then I can take him. So I've been in my best balls. I've been taking some Thielen. I've been taking some Mingo, but Chark is the guy that, and I've been a truther of his for a long time. So maybe a little bit of take lock mixed in there too. But I would love to see DJ Chark come out and be the guy that we always thought he could be.
Oh, the kiss of death right there. Better Boss says that he's all over DJ Chark with you, Coop. So
oh no, dude.
That's a torn hammy right there in week 3.
Oof. Right in there with Better Boss's other guys, Richie James and all right.
All the players he threw at me and lost in the FSGA league last year.
Classic. All right, let's mix in another position. We've been doing pass catchers, we've been doing wide receivers. Let's look at some running backs here. And this one, there's a boatload of potential because of the system, because they use a fullback, because they have Teron Armstead at left tackle. If you haven't figured it out now, I'm talking about the Miami Dolphins in Mike McDaniel's scheme. They basically have the rookie. Everyone's got a little bit of rookie fever, taking Devon A-Chain off the board first at pick 113. Then there's Raheem Mostert. Some would say our generation's A-Chain, the speedster, going off the board at 153, and then Jeff Wilson, the bruiser, at 159. So regardless of whether you think, and again, we run into this all the time with fantasy football, where rookies start slow, and at the end of the year, they end up being the league winners when they're scoring the most points during playoffs. Regardless of all of that, who do you think scores the most points overall on the season, whether they're consistent or not, or whether it's touchdown based? Out of these 3 fellas, who do you think who are you going to play your flag on? Kev, I'll have you go first on this.
For me, it's pretty easy. It's the guy I've drafted the most in Underdog, and that's Jeff Wilson, just based on price. The fact that he is well insulated if Dalvin Cook does not go there, for a lot of the goal line work. And this is, I'm working on the Andrew Cooper bingo card right now. That is if you have a pass interference call and you get the ball on the 1 yard line, who's getting the ball? It's Jeff Wilson. That might as well be the free square of this bingo card right now. But yeah, I think Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert have duplicative skill sets to where if Achane shows that he belongs on the field right away, I think Mostert's going to be the one that kind of sinks. And the ADP doesn't really reflect that. I feel like Mostert should be the one kind of flip-flop with Jeff Wilson. ADP a 153 for Mostert, ADP a 159 for Wilson. I think Wilson should be up there, but I get some of the, the pushing down just because of the Dalvin Cook rumors. But, what if if it happens, I think Wilson's still going to have a role. If it doesn't, I think Jeff Wilson's certainly primed for a fringe RB2 season. Definitely like him to lead these running backs, Achane, Mostert, and Wilson, especially if Cook doesn't go there.
Well, for the sake of argument, then I'll just take Mostert and argue with you. Listen, I think the big knock on Mostert has just obviously been the injuries. We're worried about him with his back. If you're saying all things being equal and everybody stays healthy, we've seen McDaniel favor Raheem Mostert. He favored him in San Francisco, wanted him to be his lead back. And I think that, when you're talking about versatility, pass catching running backs, and the ability to take it between the tackles, I think Mostert checks all those boxes. That's why, I think Wilson got kind of pigeonholed into that short yardage, that goal line situation. So, I can take a stab and say that if Dalvin Cook doesn't show up, on Miami's roster, I'll use that late round pick on Raheem Mostert as I'm kind of building up my depth, because I do think that he can be explosive as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean,
that's sorry.
Oh, you go ahead, Kev.
I'm just going to say that's the best part about these Miami Dolphins running backs is that the price isn't prohibitive to where you can just take stabs on all three of these guys. Achane for the upside, Raheem Mostert. I mean, they're both going in the same spot, Wilson and Mostert. So that's the best part is you could just mix in all three, especially in best ball. If you're doing a lot of drafts or just building out a portfolio, you can have as much as you want of these guys because they're essentially free.
Yeah, and I think that's the other beauty of it is that like Achane, he goes 113. We don't know he's a rookie. We don't know what their mindset is. Their mindset might be that, and I'm going to end up siding with Howard on this one, especially because we try to be, as Matt Deutsch, Better Boss, would put it, injury agnostic, right, Howard? As long as guys aren't hurt right now. If they're hurt right now, which Matt maybe struggles with that part, but if they're not hurt right now, then it's hard to say, oh, he's definitely going to get hurt. So for me, we don't know if they want Achane to be the starter or if maybe they say, we like Raheem Mostert a lot, so we want then something very similar in case he gets hurt again, right? So it could just be a situation where Mostert's the guy and they want a similar guy, but he doesn't get hurt and he ends up being the guy. And he's so much cheaper that I don't mind waiting and taking him instead. Now, at the end of the day, maybe the shiny rookie takes over and it's rookie fever and he's the guy. But at that price, I think I like taking Mostert. So I'll take Mostert for this one as well. Because again, you can't predict guys to get hurt if they're healthy. Right. So, all right, let's go. Let's do another set of pass catchers here. This one, we know that Mark Andrews is going to be the top pass, or we assume Mark Andrews is going to be the top pass catcher, but we don't know who the top wideout is. And these guys are the ones where it goes. When one goes, the other ones go every time. The ADPs for these guys: Rashad Bateman 113, Odell Beckham 120, and it's so close that Zay Flowers is also 120. Like these guys are going back to back to back. I've seen them go in all three orders in various stages. So this is one where, hey, if you get the right guy, then Todd Monken's new offense could work out pretty well for you, Howard. Howard, I know you're not going to pick Odell. You've made that pretty clear. So
what? What are you talking about?
So of Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers. Oh yeah, go ahead. Pick whoever you want, Howard.
I was kind of eyeballing Nelson Aguilar. Andy Isabella is hanging out here right now. I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman. We'll forego the injury talk and the foot. I think as long as Rashad Bateman is there in week 1, I was very high on Bateman last year. I really was. And I thought that, and he looked dominant in the first couple of weeks of the season until he hurt his foot. He was absolutely fantastic. I had him in the FSGA league that I won, that I beat the Better Boss in the championship. And that was one of my big injuries early on. So, knowing the talent level, the speed, I mean, we'll see how his foot looks in camp, but I mean, I still think that there's plenty of Rashad Bateman left here that we can use. Odell Beckham, the only reason I can't get behind him is that if he's not the center of attention, then he's problematic. And I don't think that he's got the talent or the ability anymore to be that guy. I mean, how many, it's a couple of ACL surgeries down the road. He's just not, he's not what he once was, except for the attitude problem. So Bateman.
And like sometimes I wonder if he's out there like getting kicked off planes and kind of doing all these, how seriously is he taking it? Right. Like trying to really get back, Kev, what do you think before
About as serious as Michael Thomas?
There is only one wide receiver that is currently a Baltimore Raven that has shown recent ability to earn targets and get attention from his quarterback, whoever that is. It's Rashad Bateman. The first 2 games of the season, he had a touchdown. We're looking at a 23% target per route run, 2.4 yards per route run. Not too bad. He was trending up to start seeing more routes, and then he got hurt, tried to come back, and then was shut down for the rest of the season. So, I mean, certainly when you're looking at it through the lens of it's Rashad Bateman versus, the Nelson Aguilars, the Devin Duvernays of the world, like Rashad Bateman stands above and beyond. And I'm sorry, I'm not drafting Odell Beckham. You couldn't pay me to do that. Not in this economy. But Rashad Bateman would be the guy that I'm going to target in this offense as the second guy next to Mark Andrews. And who knows if he, shows what he showed beginning of last season, he could be a 1A, 1B, and that's going to be great for Todd Monken's offense.
That puts all 3 of us in agreement. I'm Rashad Bateman. I wrote the article on him last year. I really like the situation. He got hurt. I mean, he wasn't amazing before he got hurt, but it's hard to judge. We say you can't judge the upside on guys on small sample sizes. That goes for, guys that had a couple bad games and then got hurt, right? You can't judge the small sample sizes on the other side either. So Bateman, for me, obviously the shiny rookie is the next best, but he's a complete wild card. I don't know why we'd go with a complete wild card or the older returning guy over, the young the guy who they traded
First
away.
Rounder.
Yeah, and they traded away Marquise Brown to make him a feature of the offense. So that there you have it. Let's do one last quick running back one, and then we'll get into these hot seat players. So one more running back. The Chicago Bears lost David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert. A lot of the metrics guys like him, but Dante Foreman came out and had, after earning the job when McCaffrey got traded, 914 rushing yards, 1 fewer rushing yard than Austin Eckler. They also went out and took Roschon Johnson, a popular rookie pick. A lot of people liked him, the running back out of Texas. And, now they have a 3-headed monster. And the coach himself said, when you have 3 good running backs, you use them all. So, Kev, do you have a favorite? Don't you love when the coach says that? Like that's the best, dude. Kev, if you had a favorite of this crew to score the most fantasy points, which one you like?
I'm going to take Deonta Foreman here. I like him not just at cost compared to Khalil Herbert. He's going about 3 rounds ahead of him, or later than him, I should say. And Roschon Johnson is kind of going in that same ADP range as Deonta Foreman. But we did see Deonta Foreman once the Carolina Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey, him and Chuba Hubbard. I mean, he pretty much took the reins on that offense. He had multiple games with over 70% of the team's rushing attempts, 4.5 yards per carry. He clearly carried that offense. I mean, we thought this offense was just going to just sink completely, and it really didn't. Like, they got behind the running game, and Deonta Foreman was a huge part of that. We literally just talked about guys that are coming off of their Achilles injuries and how not everybody can be a Deonta Foreman. I mean, James Robinson, it stinks, but Foreman, to me, has been almost one of the best success stories of a guy with that particular injury. So, now it's an ambiguous backfield with Khalil Herbert. Now that they got rid of David Montgomery and now they brought in Roschon Johnson, it's a bit murky, but I'm still willing to take the guy that's at least, shown that he can, bully and have some touchdown equity. I don't know if the Bears can be scoring a lot of rushing touchdowns outside of what Justin Fields does, but still just on the ground production that's not from Justin Fields. I do like that to go to Deonta Foreman.
I'll back up Coop on Kev here on the Deonta Foreman call. He's legit one of my least favorite players. And I've had massive arguments with Colby Conway, Mr. Houston Texans truther, dating back. But you're paying him $3 million on a 1-year deal. If you're letting David Montgomery walk, all right, and you've got Khalil Herbert under his rookie contract still. Right? Why are you paying Deonta Foreman $3 million to come in for a year if you had any faith in Khalil Herbert? And then why are you drafting Roschon Johnson if you've got faith in Khalil Herbert? So I think that there's just a couple of detractors there. Maybe Herbert is just a guy that the coaching staff feels can be a complimentary running back, but not somebody who they can feature. And I think Foreman's going to be the guy who's probably going to see the majority of touches there while Herbert and Roschon Johnson kind of sort out the backup spot.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that with Justin Fields, this team threw the ball to the running back the second fewest times of any team in the league. Like Fields doesn't care about dumping it down, and that hurts Herbert. Deonta Foreman wasn't going to catch it anyway. So he's there to be the big dog. All that said, in this situation, I'm just going with the shiny mystery box. Give me the mystery box here. Like, if he's not going to dump it, give me the mystery box. I'll take Roschon Johnson. Like, I just hope that, like Howard said, we don't think Deonta Foreman's all that good. If they're bringing these other guys in, maybe they don't think Khalil Herbert's that good. Who knows? So yeah, just give me the curveball in this one. He's going 2 picks after Foreman, so whatever there.
All right. If you open your mystery box and it's Treston Ebner?
And I drop him the waivers pick.
How are you going to cook
Khalil Herbert opened his, and he got Chase Edmonds.
Pick 143, dude. Like I probably clicked watch list after the draft. I don't really have to do anything. You know what I mean? So all right, let's move on. Last one, the one that we have the cover photo for, and we do this every. They always talk about it during the season for coaches, right? Like who's on the hot seat. Which coach is going to get fired, who's like the guy, but we don't really ever talk about it for fantasy football, both whether that person is going to lose their job this year or whether we're going to drop them in dynasty, right? Like James Robinson, he just was on the hot seat and he got off it pretty quick and we're dropping him. So for you guys, when you look around, both from a real standpoint or from a fantasy standpoint, what are some of you guys where you say, like, if this guy doesn't show me something this year, or if he doesn't show me something for the first couple games, I'm done. Kev, is there somebody that for you is just like, if they're on the hot seat, this is the year for them, and then you're not giving them another chance ever?
I mean, I don't think there's a bigger one, especially in real life NFL, and then you can parlay it into fantasy, than Jordan Love. Like, this is Jordan Love's season to show whether he can be a franchise quarterback. Green Bay has invested a second-round pick in Jaden Reed. They invested third-round pick in Luke Musgrave. They invested, Tucker Kraft. They've got Romeo Doubs. They got Christian Watson. They got last year. So right now, like, this offense is set up for, somebody to step up outside of Christian Watson. Also, Jordan Love's got to be the facilitator of that. He's got to be the one to lead the charge. From a team standpoint, Green Bay kind of got a nice team-friendly deal to give Love that 1 year. Because he's going to be going in the last year of his contract. Jordan Love has to show it in fantasy too, because if Jordan Love doesn't do it this year, they're going to go out and find a quarterback, whether it's a veteran or they go draft somebody. So yeah.
If you guys have noticed, everyone surrounding that team, the higher ups, the beat writers, they're trying to cool that seat down with the fire hoses, right? Like everything that comes out of there, they're saying, well, it could take some time. They're packing the ice around that seat, but I feel you.
They don't have time. They don't have time.
Yeah, so they're trying to cool it down so that
stoke
everyone
the
doesn't
fire,
panic. But
yeah.
you're right. I don't know if you have that just because of, he's been with the organization, right? Like this isn't just his first run around.
Right. It's not like he was a 4th round pick and he was afforded the opportunity. Like they took him in the competitive window with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Then they went and paid him. So now you've got this guy who he's 83 pass attempts in his career going into year 4. You have to see what the guy has.
Right. Yeah, Howard, what about you? Is there a guy that jumps out at you as a guy that is, if he doesn't do it this year, then he should either lose his job in the NFL or he's losing a spot on one of your rosters?
Well, I mean, I put in a couple of names on our little show doc, and I was all set to piggyback off of Kevin with the quarterback situation, but then Herms comes in with his take on Gabe Davis, and he's like, if Gabe Davis, there it is right there. If Gabe Davis is meh again in 2023, and we're still talking about him at this time next year, I'll join you in the wood chipper, Herms. Because I mean, and here's the funny thing too, is that everybody was so in on Gabe Davis, and Stephon Diggs was going to draw the primary coverage, and there's no consistency from game to game with Gabe Davis. I don't even know.
We had a good year last year. Us Gabe Davis truthers.
He had an okay year last
year. That Pittsburgh game.
Oh, yeah, the Pittsburgh game. Okay, fine, but
he's had 2 good games in his career. And he's been
that's what I'm talking about. Like,
let us have it.
Consistency. Where's Bob Lung? Somebody get me Bob Lung on the phone so we can talk about fantasy football consistency right now. And Gabe Davis just doesn't. He just hasn't produced it. Now there it is. I got one too.
Consistency guy. Here. Mine's in the library.
Oh yeah, sure it is, Coop. Whatever. But I mean, so I mean, I can definitely go with Gabe Davis for Herms, and I can agree with you there. But to Kevin's point on the quarterback situation, I think Desmond Ridder is in that situation in Atlanta right now as well. And listen, we know it's a run-first offense. Bijan Robinson will have 673 carries by the end of this year. Tyler Algier will probably have another 250 on top of that as well. And but the question is will defenses turn around and say, well, we have to respect the pass? You've got Kyle Pitts. You've got Drake London. Can Desmond Ridder get them the ball? Can he be a quarterback who says, all right, go ahead, stuff the box and stack against them right there and try and take away the run? I'll beat you with the pass. So I think it's a very important thing, because I don't think that, Ridder, he's not really anybody's target at all. He's like your 3rd quarterback in a super flex league. But the Falcons themselves, from a reality standpoint, will very likely move on from him if he doesn't show that he can at least give a supportive passing attack so that defenses don't just focus on stuff in the run.
Yeah, and we've seen that with these, especially with these 3rd or 4th round quarterbacks. If you get a shot, if you get even the starter goes down, that's your chance, and you might get half a season, right? The fact that a 3rd round pick, Desmond Ridder, is going to get a full season now, he's got to show it. And Davis Mills got a full season, and look how quickly he got replaced. I mean, Josh Rosen was a 1st round pick, and they replaced him in 1 year. So you're right, Howard. Like, this is it for Desmond Ridder. Like, and the fact he's even getting a shot as a 3rd round pick, it very rarely happens. How long was Malik Willis's chance there, Kev?
Like a game and a half.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got one chance.
And they brought in a dude off the street that was bagging groceries at Kroger and looked way better than
he did.
They were calling Denver, and they were like, is Kendall Hinton still available? We need a QB.
Oh, my.
Tom Tupa.
Kendall Hinton versus Taysom Hill game. Just
what a pull.
Tupa kind of had a cannon, bro. He kind of had a cannon.
Tupa was awesome for the Phoenix Cardinals.
Yeah, dude. I still remember that. Bill Parcells, when he went from the My Pats to Howard's Jets, he had to take not just Tom Tupa, but had to take Curtis Martin with him. Broke my little heart. Anyway,
Didn't think we'd be getting a Tom Tupa reference in, but
once we get the Tupa, dude, yeah. But no, I mean, Tupa kind of had a cannon for a punter, though. No joke. I think he played QB back in high school or college.
I'm ordering the vintage jersey right now for Tom Tupa.
Yeah, fire it up, dude. That'd be tight, dude. I guarantee you wear that to a Jets game, you won't
have to buy a drink.
They're gonna be like, they killed Howard Bender died this week. He was murdered by high fives from drunk Jets fans.
Dude, yeah. Gen Z is gonna be like, you misspelled Fupa.
Dude, team name Tom Fupa.
Fupa Tupa?
Yeah. Anyway, all right. I got one here. If we have time, we can maybe each do another one, but we're getting up against it. So since you guys have been doing quarterbacks, I'll forgo the quarterback I was going to do. He may or may not play for a team very close to my heart. I'm going to go with one that's for fantasy football. I think this player, there were people that were very much in on him and very much out on him. I originally was out on him. I've come around a little bit, but this year is the year for Rondale Moore. They are running the ghost chip offense where targets become available, right? If things were going well, they wouldn't have traded DeAndre Hopkins, right? We wouldn't have an injured Kyler Murray. Zach Ertz might miss the start of the season, right? It's Marquise Brown, and then there's another spot for somebody to get garbage time targets. If you can't even get those garbage time targets, if you can't play 80-90% snap share, then he's never going to be a thing, right? Because if you can't collect targets on these tanking teams like a Preston Williams or a Kenny Britt or a Terrell Pryor, if you can't in that environment, then you never will. So Rondale Moore for me this year, he needs to show me that he can run real routes. I'm talking like his ADOT the first year was, what was it, Kev? 1.3?
I think it was like 1.8 or something.
It was insane,
Stupid.
dude. You had to find him on the list. You had to like click the running backs off because he was behind like 50 of them, right? So he needs to run real routes, and I need to see him throw one block one time, right? Like that's it. So Rondale Moore, he's on the big time fantasy hot seat for me. Do you guys have any Rondale Moore? I mean, I wasn't really drafting in Dynasty, but I don't know. The allure of just a team that has nobody else to throw to is kind of interesting. Yeah. Howard, do you have any Rondale Moore?
I actually just took I have back-to-back shares in Underdog what you call it, Best Ball Mania picks. It was like super late. I needed some receiver depth, and yeah, I grabbed him in back-to-back drafts. They're my only 2 shares of him. I'm probably like 20 or 30 drafts into the best ball season. So not a huge share, only because their situation at QB is so meh. But yeah, I mean, I just jumped in.
All right, Kev, give us one quick plug for Lightning Round, the best ball before we go, and then I'll let everyone know what we're doing, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so Lightning Round Best Ball Championship. We're back for season 3, raising money for charity. The first year in 2021, we raised over $1,000. Last year, through everybody's donations, raised over $2,000. We're looking to get that trend going this year. If you go to my Twitter at KTompkinsII, my pinned tweet has the form to go sign up. It is a $20 entry, $10 to a charity of your choice that you donate, and then $10 to the prize pool. We're going to be drafting about this time next month. Can't wait to see you. I'm sure Howard will get in. Obviously, me and Coop will be in. We'll be doing it. It'll be exciting.
Yep. And beyond that, obviously, we have the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide is live now. Pop on over to fantasyalarm.com. Go to NFL section there. It'll be right there. And for the kids out there, Howard and I are going straight from here. We're popping over to the Dynasty Fantasy Football subreddit to answer questions. We're going to give away 3 draft guides, and we're giving away a coveted spot in the Scott Fish Bowl 13. So jump on over there. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. For everybody with Lightning Round, Kev Tompkins, Howard Bender, Britt Flynn, who's normally with us, Andrew Cooper here. Toodles.